Walmart moves more currency than the U.S. Treasury does.
That's
Literally.
crazy.
Why? They know who they're serving and they embrace it and they give it everything they got.
Right.
The middle people.
Welcome to the Expert in You podcast, the show where we have real conversations with established founders, firm owners, and B2B experts selling their expertise as services. We talk about what's happening now inside experienced businesses where positioning, influence, and growth directly affect opportunities and contracts. I'm Ann Carden. Let's get into it.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Expert in You podcast. I'm your host, Ann Carden. And my guest today is a wow. And I know if you follow the show, I don't normally read the bios, but I have to read his bio. So first of all, Don Barden, welcome to my show.
Oh, thank you for having me. Be careful what you're reading. I always say if you're going to make something up, make it good. So go ahead.
There you go. You can already see what a great guy he is. But seriously, his bio is a wow. It is so impressive. So let me just read this really quick. Dr. Don Barden is a classically trained economist and globally recognized expert in leadership and decision-making. He spent 25 years as a corporate executive in institutional finance and global economics, building teams that averaged over $1 billion in annual revenue. During the doctoral studies at Columbia International University, he identified a common thread among the elite leaders that it became the foundation for his book, The Perfect Plan, which is now published in 39 countries worldwide. Don was named one of the top 30 most transformational leaders in North America. Get this, by John Maxwell, the 2018 Entrepreneur of the Year by Atlanta Business Chronicle, and received full honors from the Department of Defense and the 75th U.S. Army Ranger Regiment. He lectures at Oxford University, the Wharton School of Business, and Wake Forest University, and is a frequent instructor at the U.S. Army Ranger Leadership and Professional Development Program. His newest work, Here Comes the Girls, which we're going to talk about today, I'm super excited about this topic, is a #1 Amazon release in economics, exploring the global leadership shift that will occur between 2028 and 2032 as women take over global leadership roles. Don is the founder of The Perfect Plan Consulting and the Perfect Plan community, where he brings his frameworks directly to entrepreneurs and leaders ready to grow. And there's one thing you don't have in this, but in doing some research on you, Don, I have to say that your philanthropy work, your charity work with teenagers and also with Rangers is extraordinary. And you didn't have that on here, but I want to bring that up. I love when people are giving and they're giving back, and wow. Okay, wow. So that was a lot. There's a lot packed into that.
Wow, thank you. I've always I tell people that my life has been a mix between Forrest Gump and Jason Bourne, but unfortunately, it's more on the Forrest Gump side, a little bit less exciting. But I'm just happy to be here. And honestly, Ann, I love what you're doing. I love your show. I've listened to every episode. I think it's fantastic, and I appreciate what you're taking out to the world. One thing I've learned is that, like, for someone like you, you're planting seeds and you're helping people. And these are seeds that you might not ever see grow. You might not enjoy the shade, but somebody will. So your work is generational. And I just want to tell you, thank you. I love it. And I'm honored to be here.
Well, thank you. That's really, really nice. And yes, putting all that content and everything out into the world, I mean, it will be around forever, right?
Oh, yeah. So, whether you like it or not, you're here. You're eternal. We're immortal. Yeah.
It's not like the old days. The old days I used to say, you would go and you'd speak on a stage and then it'd be done. Or you would go and you'd run an ad in a newspaper or magazine, or you'd have something in print, but then it kind of was done. And that's the beautiful thing about the internet. How did we ever live without it? I don't know.
Well, there's a whole generation, they'll never know life without it. So, yeah.
Well,
we're dating ourselves. We need to move on, and we're dating ourselves.
I know. And we were just talking about how fast time flies. But, Don, I want to really talk about The Perfect Plan. And I'm so intrigued by this and how you've written a book around it. You have programs around it. So let's just dive right in and tell us about The Perfect Plan.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. It's interesting. We've already done the show on Here Come the Girls. And Here Come the Girls was a study about women taking over leadership. But before we did that, 25 years ago, we did a similar study, same way, through the power of observation, where we were looking for what elite leaders, men and women, do differently than everyone else. And I spent the first 25 years of my career on Wall Street, and it was great. Loved the career, loved how it worked and the fluidity. And I was on an international team. And so they would send me with a day's notice sometimes all over the world to sort of finish out deals that we've been working on in many cases for up to a year, because we had due diligence teams and people, going through all the numbers. And what I noticed, and this is before TED Talks, before iPhones, before Instagram, social media, there was no connectivity back then, at least nowhere close to what it is now. So I would be in a different country with a different person, with a different deal, different currencies, different cultures, different everything. But I started noticing that there was this familiar thing, like a theme that was going on amongst these conversations. And then I realized that we were so fortunate, so blessed that because of the deals we were working on, we were working with their A team. They weren't sending us, the kid right out of college, and we're cheering for the kid out of college. It's going to be a long career, but hang in there. But we worked with the best of the best, and I noticed this common theme happening. And to the point where I went back to my boss, who was probably the most gregarious CEO on Wall Street, and I said, Bob, I'm noticing that these elite people that we work with kind of have a thing. They do it the same way. And he laughed. He said, you think they have a secret sauce? And I said, yeah. And he said, so what do you want? And I said, I want to study it. And I want to learn to see if this is applicable, if this is real, because that'll help us sell more, frankly, to them. If we understand how these elite performers think and how they act, then we will know ahead of time whether or not we're walking into something that's good, bad, or indifferent. That can we dance with these people? What is that formula? And he said, all I hear is that you think you can figure out a way for us to sell more things to more people faster. And I went, yeah. He goes, do it now. So we spent about 3 or 4 years on it. We had some really bright people while I had my real job and flying around the world at a moment's notice doing these deals. But we noticed that this familiar thing was trackable, but we really didn't want it to be one of these just rah-rah books, sort of like we did on Here Come the Girls. We wanted to be academically backed. So we backed into the study by saying, okay, here's why this is happening. And what it turned out to be was we realized that the decision-making process of these elite performers around the world, men and women, is radically based on science, whether they know it or not, that we can explain with clear definition why. So we saw that they were all following the same patterns in their communication, but the most important thing was, why is it successful? And we were able to go back through neurodiversity, neuropsychology, neuro everything, and be able to literally explain the why each step works. And so we figured out the steps that they go through, which is very similar to Here Come the Girls, but Here Come the Girls evolved into more of a micro focus. But on the broader focus of what these men and women around the world are still doing, it became so obvious. But the cool thing about it is we know why it works. Not just, I can give it to you and say, hey, read these 2 pages and just do that and your business will double. If you want to double your business, great. But if you want to have absolute control, where it's a valve that you're turning up and down at will based on what you want, what you feel, what you think you can deliver, and how you want to embrace it, then you got to know the why. And so we now know the what and the why. And that's what Perfect Plan did.
Oh, I love that. So talk about it a little bit. What are the things you figured out?
Well, there were 3 big ones. And the first one was mindset. And I tell people this all the time. And each one of these elite performers around the world knew this. And it sounds macabre, but it's not. So I always beg people, hear me out before you shut down. And it's a quote. And the quote's really simple. The day you win a client is the day you begin to lose them. Think about that. The day you win a client is the day you begin to lose them. The day you start your new jobs, the day you begin to quit. The day you were born is the day you begin to die. The day a relationship starts is the day it begins to end. All things end. Again, that's not macabre. That's just life. It ends. It's April now. We're filming this, and I live in Georgia, and it's been summertime for 2 months here, right? Because that's where I chose to live, where the rest of the world is not. But even summertime ends. Everything ends. So the people in this elite area knew that, and what they were doing was they were so present. They said, look, if the universe says that maybe we're supposed to keep this account 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, however long, or this employee for, as we talked about before, 3 years, what do I need to do to expand that? And the answer is to be present, to be there, to take every moment with an understanding that this might be the last. And this is no rom-com stuff. This is just science where you can say to yourself, okay, instead of 3 years, what do I have to do in the present? Maybe we can make it 4 years. They want a 20% ROI for hiring us. How do we give them 40? If they want this on Tuesday, how do we get it to them on Monday? They thought through in the present how to extend time because they knew, and everybody else should know this. Every client you've got is going to leave you. Right. It might be in a year. It might be in 30 years. It might be because they found something better. It might be because they sold their company. It might be because their kid got in the business and they'd rather hire their kid than you. I don't know, but everything ends. So instead of being negative about it, turn that into a positive and be present in the moment. That was number one. Number two was the understanding of the neural formula that we all have for decision making. And that really boiled down to the role between facts and emotion. And then what we ultimately called the social buyer's pyramid, being able to look at somebody that you're with, a client or an employee, and put yourself in their shoes. These elite people did that. That was their why, where they could look at it and say, and this is rule number one in marketing, I'm not the buyer.
I was just going to say, that sounds like exactly like marketing.
It is marketing. I tell leadership all the time, you are not the buyer.
Right.
I did a really famous pizza company, really famous, was a client of mine a while back. And I was sitting in their executive dining room and eating, and it was like Michelin. It was like amazing. I was like, this is the best food ever. And I'm like, when is this going to get out to the public? When are you going to take this quality and deliver it in your pizzas? And they're like, well, never. And I'm like, well, why are you even fooling with this? Why aren't you eating your own product? And they said, well, we're not the buyer. And I was like, oh, they're right. It's okay. There's no judgment there. They know who their buyers are, and they serve them, and they give them the best thing they can for what they're looking for and what they need and what they can afford. If they're different, they accept that. So they don't sell to themselves. They sell to their market, is a big, big part of it. But understanding what the social buyer's pyramid is, and when we go through long, deep courses on this, or even small 1-hour lectures, we put up a pyramid up on the screen, and we say a pyramid is broken into 3 parts: the base at the bottom, the middle, and then the point, the tip of the spear. That represents every corporate structure out there. The bottom of the pyramid, that's your base, hardworking employees that come to work every day. They clock in, they clock out, they do the stuff, they make things happen. The middle, those are your managers. They're usually people with a title, vice president, director, managing director, people like that, supervisor, whatever. And then the tip of the spear, that's the C-suite or the owners. And they all think differently. So when you're selling and you're managing to these people, no matter how elite they are, you've got to forget who you are and then say, I want to treat them the way they want to be treated. Not the way I want to be treated, the way they want to be treated. So what are the buying habits of each of those segments? And by the way, it's the same for society. Instead of like the workers, the middle, or the managers, and then the C-suite, it's upper class, lower class, and middle class. It's the same. Again, no judgment. It's just math. So we look at that and say, okay, the people at the base, if you're presenting to them, they only care about price. That's it. They're driven by price because we know the why. They work really hard, and they're on fixed income, and they have to stretch that paycheck out to make it work, which is why Walmart is the biggest employer in the world. If you look at their logo, they actually tell you that in their logo. They know exactly who they're selling to. Their logo says Walmart, and then it says always low prices, always. They emphasize it twice, to let you know. Now, I'm not a Walmart guy. That's okay. But I love Walmart. I think it's an amazing company. I just don't want to go there. Nothing against it. Not my thing. Okay. I've seen those videos online. I'm not going there.
I just want to say, if you live in a small town, you have no choice.
It's the greatest thing ever, right? It is. I get that. I totally get that. But But they know who their market is, and they know that the decision is based on the why, and the why is fixed income, stretch it out. So yeah, we might not have marble floors and crystal chandeliers, but you got a better price, and that's important to them. That's why they're the biggest employer in the world. Fun fact, 1/3 of all U.S. printed currency, printed, not debits and credits, but printed currency, 1/3 of the printed currency of the U.S. dollar travels through Walmart every day.
Wow. Oh my
Walmart,
goodness, that's amazing.
Walmart moves more currency than the U.S. Treasury does.
That's
Literally.
crazy.
Why? They know who they're serving, and they embrace it, and they give it everything they got.
Right.
You know, the middle people, if you're serving the middle people with titles or middle class, all they care about is perception. That's the why. How does this make me look?
Right.
Keeping up with the Joneses? Do the people above me think I could be them one day? You know, all these things. That's where brands are developed. And I had a chance to work with Ralph Lauren years ago. He's a wonderful man. And I said to him, I said, look, I love your clothes. What are you trying to accomplish? And he said, I want every purchase of one of my clothes or items to have the potential for antiquity. And I said, "Ooh, what does that mean?" And he said, it means that if you buy this blue shirt from me, you can wear the same blue shirt 30 years from now and it's going to be in style. And I said, okay, that's pretty cool. I said, but let me ask you, you just sewed a little pony on it and you double the price. It can be all about antiquity, but it's really a brand issue, right? And he said, yeah, they buy it. And that was his rationale. They buy it. So he created a role of aspiration is what he did. If you want this look, you want to feel this way, if you want to be a part of antiquity in the future, then buy our clothes, and you'll know it because of the little logo. That's the middle market, middle manager, middle class mindset right there. And they did it. And then the other why is the tip, the very pinnacle of that, the C-suite. What drives their decision-making process? And it's ROI over time. In other words, for the amount of time we're putting into this, what's the return we're going to get on the investment? Because we can always do it over there, and get more return. And that's not selfish or greedy. That's smart. So they don't care about brands. They don't care about price. They care about over the amount of time, what's going to come out of it. And I tell people the best example of it is landscapers. Ironically, again, my kids are little, but for 20, 25 years, I didn't own a lawnmower. I had a landscaping company come out and cut my grass. Now, I wasn't being bougie. I wasn't being snobby, saying I don't want to do it. I like cutting grass, but I hired somebody to do it. You know why? Because I wasn't hiring them to cut my grass. I was buying back my Saturdays.
Right.
I would rather pay these guys to cut my grass so that I'm free on Saturdays so I can spend time with my boys.
Right.
There's no budget for that. And I look back on it and I'm so glad I did. All the little leagues, all the games, all the Saturday afternoons, all the Waffle House runs, everything I did with 3 boys was worth every penny of it. But that's ROI over time.
It's why people invest in employees. They don't sit there and do it all themselves. Like if they're going to grow, you're not going to live you don't want to live in your business or in your job or in your company. So that's why employees
that's exactly right.
So,
but it became obvious, right? We structured the obvious, but then there's a little subset before I get to the real one, and I'll pause on this because I think it's worthy of a conversation. You know, it's possible that if you know who you're marketing to and you know these people are all about brands, okay, we're going to sell to them. These people are all about price, we're going to do it. These people about ROI over time, we're going to do it. There's a possibility that somebody else is doing it too. So what is the why that separates you from everyone else? And we dug deep into the neuropsychology of decision making. And what we found is that people look at the facts and they have an emotional response to that and they make a decision. It's really simple. But the deeper question is, what percentage of your thought process goes to the facts or the data, and what percentage goes toward the emotion? And most people are smart enough to be counterintuitive to give the answer, and they're right. And what the data showed us is when somebody's making a decision, only 15% of that decision is based on the facts. 85% of it is based on the emotions. And most people come back and say, well, that's just silly. We're all emotional. We're just making hash. Then they throw in the women jokes and everything else. And I'm like, no. You got that totally wrong. What we learned from this is there's a reason why they only need 15% of the facts. And it's not because they're dumb. It's not because they don't want to know. What they're saying is, I only need to know 15% of the facts to know that you know. So that's what I need to feel comfortable that you're the person that I want to hire. But I really want to like you. I really want to feel good about you. I really want to trust you. And that's an emotional thing. If you tell somebody too much data, you're killing the deal because they only need 15%. And again, they don't want to know what you know. If they wanted to know what you know, they would have gone to school and figured that out and worked on those skills. But they want to outsource success to you. So they're just saying, tell me enough to know that you know, and then I really want to like you. If you show up and you keep talking and going through the facts, you're breaking down that emotional connection. And it's actually reversing and being reflected as an emotion. And it comes to boredom. Like, oh, I really like those guys. They're so nice. They know what they're doing. But my God, every time they're here, I'm just bored. Why are they stopping talking? And they associate that forever. And the side part is that 10 minutes, and this is really important, 10 minutes after a presentation is over with, you go back and ask the people who you presented to what they remember. They only remember 6% of what you said. That's it. People can only recall 6% of what you say 10 minutes after you left, but they can recall 100% about how they felt about you forever. Women is forever plus eternity. So women don't ever forget anything, right? So I always tell people that's a very real thing. I always joke that the women remember stuff that hadn't even happened yet. So you got to be very, very careful, with that. And I'm joking, but I'm not. Women have a definite emotional connection different than men. And that's what is, and here come the girls and the reason why the stylistic change and shift in leadership is coming out. But if you think about this, if you only need 15% of the facts and you really want to like them, then in that 15% of the facts, that's very quick. So that's why it's not that they forgot the data. They never wanted to know the data. They just wanted to know enough about you. So when people, you're like, oh, how can they forget? I worked so hard on that. Well, that means you did a good job. It really does. They don't need to recite everything you said. They made the decision that you're their person. So go with it and they like you. Take it. But what we realize is people forget that and they talk too much or they oversell it, and it actually creates a negative emotional response, and that's not good. So that's the difference in it. And then once we knew the why, then the formula of what they did, and I'm happy to tell you about that in a second, but there is a formula. And that formula, once it's followed and you understand the why, everything makes sense. In fact, it's almost guaranteed.
I love actually this topic. I mean, you're bringing it into sales, and I love this because I help people shorten sales cycles, and it really is about the buyer. It is about what they want. And if you're selling them what they want, how can they say no? I mean, if you're in front of the right person, right?
Right.
But one of the things I talk about all the time when you're selling really high end, big, multiple six-figure plus contracts, client contracts, is you actually want to co-create with the buyer what you have and what they want. And that's how they will make fast decisions. And so I love that you're talking about this because you're so spot on. This is Don. I love talking to you. I mean, this is such a great conversation, and
thank you.
The research you've done is just spectacular.
Yeah, it's real. You can't unsee it. And when you get into the formula itself, and we spend more time explaining the why than we do the actual formula of what they do, what the actual perfect plan is.
Right.
And the reason is because once you get it embedded and you understand it, and I always tell people this, even when I teach in universities, I don't care what you know. I want to talk about what you understand. Understanding is much more important than knowledge. And if you look at it through sales, a perspective, this is about sales, but we're all in sales. Every person on the planet
everything we do all day long.
Yes. And I asked a group one time, I said, tell me anything in life that has happened that somebody didn't sell something to somebody. Even the pyramids in Cairo, you had to sell the pharaoh on an idea of a really cool tombstone. Somebody had that conversation.
Your kids to clean the room. I mean,
yes. Yeah. All of it is sales. So sales is just a communication of humans and how we grow together. And that's ultimately what this is. Leadership is in sales because you're wanting your team to buy into the mission, the vision, the accuracy, and the employment. All that stuff is a constant sales position. So it really is sales, but it's about leadership. It's about everything. And once we knew the formula, which is just 3 easy steps, I was going to say that takes 2 minutes.
Yeah.
The why eliminates the need to know and creates a deep level of understanding. And then that's where the magic happens.
So good. You're really just leading the buying decision is all you're doing. And this is so good. Oh gosh, I know you're pressed for time
Oh, that's
today,
okay.
but it's just been such a great conversation. All right, final thoughts. What haven't we covered that you want to make sure we get into this conversation?
Again, just like Here Come the Girls, if anybody wants a free copy of the book, it's going to be in the show notes. Or if they want to hit me on LinkedIn, I'd be happy to send you the perfect plan. It's on its third edition now. But what it says in there, the 3 steps that the understanding leads up to, is so important to know. And it's very simple. It's gratification, education, ease of business. That's it. Gratification, education, ease of business. Every conversation these people have starts out with an attitude of gratitude, and it's real. It's not placid. It's not flippant. It's not like, oh, hey, Ann, it's nice to see you. I'm glad you're here. Okay, let's get going. No, it's a moment in time where they pause and they breathe and they say stuff like, hey, I hope you guys had a great weekend. It's springtime, right? Isn't this wonderful? This is great. I'm just so grateful that you're here. How's your kids? Whatever. And it's not, it's real. It's a connection point. And what the data told us, that by opening with that and taking a minute to dive into it the right way, that when a recipient feels your gratitude and it's real, it's sincere, it's genuine, then they have a neurological response to you that bonds them to you. Literally, they connect with you. And we've had people after meetings come back and say, like to use you, for example, they'll say, man, wasn't Ann amazing? I don't even remember what she said, but I know we need to do it. I know we need to do it to her. And at the end of the day, I just feel so good. I don't know, something about it. I'm bonded to her. Well, that response is because you took the time to show them gratitude. And that was their response. Now, Huberman out of Stanford University, great neuropsychologist now, he's actually took the study and went one step further. And he said that bonding goes both ways, that the giver of the gratitude, if it's real and genuine, and that they get that bonding effect too. And so we went back and looked at it, and that was right, that you have a different level of connection. The second thing that goes through, I'll go through this quickly, is the education piece. Why are you here? What are you doing? And this is where everybody screws up. What we learned, especially if you're speaking English, is that when you're presenting something to somebody as a leadership objective or as a sales process, you can only do 3 things or less. That is it. The science tells us if you add a 4th thing to a singular conversation, you have a 25% fail rate. You add a 5th thing, 50% fail rate. You talk about 6 things or more, 100% fail rate. And the why is because of the English language. English, if you're speaking English, may be a little bit different in German or some Asian dialects, but not much. And the reason is that English isn't a language. It's all the other languages combined. It's a soup of words, right? And it doesn't really make sense. But if you grew up speaking it, you're fluent, but your brain is working harder than you think it is. So we've got all the science behind this. So when you say just 2 or 3 things, that's an objective your brain gets in English and it can execute on it. The diminishing return starts really quickly. So what we tell people, you open up with an attitude of gratitude, so you bond with them. Then you just give them 2 or 3 things. I prefer 2. If you have 4 or 5 things, have another meeting, have another email, send another text, follow up later on. But you can literally, after you go through the gratitude thing, say, hey, look, oh man, I know we're building this house for you and there's all these moving parts. Here's just the 2 things I need today. Can we just talk about these 2 things? We'll get to the rest later. And everybody's like, oh, yes, please, yes. And it's not just the burden, it's the radical acceptance that you can get your head around 2 things. You can't get your head around a project plan with 50 things on it. Yeah. So by narrowing it down, you show enormous grace. So attitude of gratitude, education, which is 2 or 3 things, and then finally, the relief of knowing it's easy to work with you. Nobody on the planet wakes up and says, I want to work for somebody today that's going to make my life more difficult. It's not going to happen, right? So these people go so
my world,
no, God, no. But these people go so far as to open up with an attitude of gratitude, clearly express the 2 or 3 things, and then end say, look, I want to make this so easy for you. I want this to be a non-event. Here's what we're willing to do, but you tell me, how can I make your life easy? How can I make this where you run to work every day and don't think about this, knowing that we've got it? My only objective is to bring ease and grace back into your life.
I
Who's
love
going to
that.
say no to that, right? But if you look at the whys, gratification is an emotion. That's 85% right there, and it bonded. Then education, that's the facts. That's only 15%. Do not overkill that. So just 2 or 3 things, and that's it. And then the relief of knowing that it's going to be easy to work with you, that's an emotional response too. That's 85%. So if a decision is 15% facts and 85% emotions, look at the insurance policy they just wrapped that conversation in. They open up with an attitude of gratitude, so you're bonded together, and that's an emotional response. You're technically done, but you got to talk about some stuff. Here are the facts. Only 15%. They're only going to remember 6%, but just keeping it to 2 or 3 things rationalizes it. And then that's 15%. Then the relief of knowing that it's easy to work with you, you're back to 85% again. So the beauty of how these elite performers structured this, and there's no school on this. It's not like they all around the world just went to the same place. Like I said, this predated everything. But it's like, here come the girls. You can't unsee it.
Right.
If you start looking at great political speeches, I mean, really good ones, gratification, education, ease of business. You can look back at scriptural work and you can go, oh, gratification, education, ease of business. You look at great leaders when they're giving conversations. You even look at any type of real significant oratory communication. It follows that pattern. And then you have to say to yourself, okay, what am I going to do? And your commitment to learning it, it's not a light switch. It's going to take some minutes. And we work with people all the time. They'll call us up and say, man, I opened up and I did this, I did that, but they still said no. And I'm like, rewind that education part. Well, I talked about this, and this. I'm like, oh, dude, that was 5 things. And they're like, oh, I can't believe I did that. And no, you get better next time. And you do it. But that's where the term, and I'll end on this, the term perfect plan comes from the variance of that. And when we were having trouble, right, like a day before the book was going to press, they didn't like the original title. The publishers didn't. So we were struggling. And somebody goes, well, why don't we just call it The Perfect Plan? And I thought, wow, that's catchy. It kind of, it's a cool title, right? I said, but this is all about education and understanding. I need to make sure that we understand what the word perfect means, because it sounds a little snobby in a way. Well, we learned that in English, the way we use perfect today means it's done, it's finite. It can't get any better, right? That's what perfect means. That's not what the word means in all the other languages. If you go back and see how the word perfect has evolved, words mean what they mean today, but it's only 150 years. You go back through time, and the word perfect doesn't mean that you're done. The word perfect literally means always becoming. Always getting better. So the old scriptural thing, I think Christ said, be perfect, be like me. That doesn't make any sense. But what it's saying, if you read it in the original dialect and you transfer it, the saying was, hey, we're always getting better together, guys. Come on, we can do this together. So the perfect plan means that you're constantly getting better. And when you can get better together, it's great. And my big wrap up is always say, the best leaders I've ever met with, academic, non-academic, whatever, they never want to be the smartest person in the room. They want to be in a room where everybody's getting smarter together. That's perfect right there. So that's what the perfect plan is about. It's not a light switch. It's a continual evolution. You're getting better. You're learning. You're exploring. You're creative. You're thinking. And that's what these people do differently. But they understood the why. But they follow that pattern: gratification, education, ease of business. Don't shortcut any of it, and it'll work.
I have 2 questions around this, and then we're going to wrap it up because I need to go. The first one is, does the same rule apply to people that are very analytical?
Yes, it does.
Very logical thinkers.
Yep.
Same thing.
Same thing. Yeah. Okay. They might want to delve a little bit deeper, like on the education thing. Like you're going in there with 2 things. If you're talking to a bunch of engineers and they say, that's fabulous. Can you?
Yeah, because there are certain industries, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, sure. But you know what that is? That's a buying signal. When they're saying, hey, man, that was great. I know those 2 things you talked about are very important. I'm grateful. Yeah. But can you talk about this too? They're basically giving you the checkbook at that point.
Yeah.
So stick to the plan and let them dictate it. Is how I tell people.
That's great. Again, let them lead, right?
Yes.
The other question I have is, do you find that this also speeds decisions when you go in with this sort of framework and this method? Yeah. One thing people don't realize is that people that are in upper, C-suite and all that, they really do make fast decisions. I mean, people like people that are very successful make fast decisions. They do not linger. They don't drag their feet. They don't have time to come back to the table 20 more times. Do you find that too?
Yeah, 100%. And there's two parts to that. Jackie on our team's coined this phrase that your energy arrives before you do. So when you're coming into a room and doing a presentation, fake it till you make it is a lie. You can't do it. People can feel that energy. So when they feel your positive energy, they feel that you're genuine on your gratitude and expression of that, that's when they make that decision. The rest of it's going to be a validation. So what I like to tell people is, like you said, high performers, yes, they've 90% of the time already made the decision. They're confirming the decision when they're talking to you. They're not looking and searching for it. So think about it. If you honestly and through sincere grace, you express energy that is grateful, really grateful, and you connect with them, that's why they don't remember but 6%, because that's when the decision was made. Now you still got to deliver. You got to be good. You got to do your job, but you can't get your job till you get the invitation.
Right.
And that's what happens. So yeah, great observation. That's really good.
Oh my goodness. This has been so great, Don. I can't thank you enough for being my guest, and what a great energy you have.
Well, thank you. And seriously, I love your show. I've listened to all the episodes.
Thank you.
If anybody, you're going to have in the show notes, if anybody reaches out and says, hey, I heard you on Ann's show, we'll send you free copies of the books, both of them. You can ask for Perfect Plan and Here Come the Girls. And we want to share the knowledge. We want everybody to get better together. And that's just our way of doing it. But I love what you're doing. Thank you. Keep doing it. You're amazing.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure you share the show and make sure you subscribe to the show. We want to get these experts out there and let other people get to know who they are and what they're all about. So thank you for being here. And if you need help taking your business into elevation mode and getting those premium high-end clients, opening those bigger doors, getting those bigger opportunities in your business, reach out to me at acarden.com. God bless you and have an amazing day. Bye-bye.
The content of this podcast is for informational and educational purposes only. Although I share strategies, ideas, and success stories based on real experiences, results are never guaranteed. Every business is unique, and outcomes depend on individual effort, market conditions, and many other factors. By listening, you agree that I and my guests are not responsible for your results or actions based on the content shared. Thank you for tuning in today. If you're as excited as I am about scaling up your influence, business, and bank account, then I have just the thing for you. But first, make sure you subscribe to the show. Second, make sure you share it with someone you care about, because sharing is caring. And third, head on over to join me in my next free virtual exclusive workshop, where we'll explore proven strategies to boost your business and maximize your potential. Look, it doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you're looking to take your business to the next level, my workshops are designed for you. So head on over to expertinyouworkshop.com to reserve your spot and get ready to transform your expertise into extraordinary success. I'm looking forward to seeing you there and helping you achieve incredible growth. Until next time, make sure you're always seeking the expert in you, and God bless. Have an amazing day.